All right, so now we have our spot illustration on top of a background that we like. And behind the spot illustration, we've made kind of a blurry drop shadow. I'm going to now play with some coloring options. So if I open up my spot illustration, what I'm going to do is make a copy of this whole folder again, just like I did when I did the drop. And I drag it down to the new layer, and I have a copy. I'm going to open it all up. I'm going to merge all of these together. So Command E is the shortcut for merging the layers together. And instead of making something to go behind my spot illustration and my text, now I'm going to make a dot color separation, a halftone color separation that maybe I want to put on top of my spot illustration and my text. So now I've basically isolated down to this one layer. I'm going to go ahead and move it out of the folder and erase this folder, just to keep this really simple. Move it on top of everything. Whoops. See if it will let me do that. All right. There it is. Everything else is turned off. And what I'm going to do now on this layer is I'm going to copy it all, select all, copy, create a new Photoshop file just really quick, and I'm going to call this a color separation test. And then paste it in. So there it is, just on a blank white background. Then I'm going to flatten that image. And now I'm going to run an action on this. Okay? And I'm keeping it separate from my original, just so it doesn't get confused by all these separate layers, because all the actions that I've written and have provided to you in the class, in general, they're made to work on just single file layers. All right, now to see my actions, I go to Window and Actions, and I'm going to find the Carl Color Separation folder. If you want this folder on Photoshop for yourself at home, you can find it in the class Dropbox files. And then I'm going to click on CMYK Full Run, which is a very complicated action that will give me the combination of all four of these actions and then put them all together into one file. And it gives me a lot of color separation options. So I'm going to press play now. And it will work for a while. And what it's doing is it's isolating. First, it's converting my RGB image to a CMYK image. And then it's converting each CMYK channel, cyan, magenta, yellow, and black, into a grayscale channel, and then it's converting it to bitmap and then outputting it in a halftone dot pattern. So right now we're just looking at my black dots on a white background. Underneath that are my yellow dots. Underneath that are my magenta dots. And underneath that are my cyan dots. And you see the cyan slightly offset because I tend to like the way that looks. It almost is like a 3D image. But all of these are separate layers. They're all transparent. So now I'm going to push that off to the side. My action also makes individual files for each dot layer, but I don't need those right now, so I'm going to close those and not save them. I'm going to close my color separation test and not save it. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all of these over, except for the white background, select them all, and move them over on top of my poster illustration. Select them all, link them together so I can move them and size them together. Turn off auto select and move them down. Notice they're a little smaller. That's because my action is set for a 300 resolution, not a 350 resolution. but all that means is that I can Command T and grow it. So that fits over the top. I should probably update those actions to use the higher resolution I use now more. But it's kind of nice to have to hand place all this stuff and see how it works. So now I'm going to make a new folder at the top. I'm going to call this color seps for color separations. And that's going to contain all of these to play with. Okay, now I'm going to turn on everything else. Okay. And let's see what color separations do and what I want to do with them. So turning them on just fully, it really takes out some of the detail, especially of my text. So what I think I want to do is not use it on the text so much. So I'll simply merge these all together. And I'm going to erase it, at least on this part of the text. The festival, the Happy Sunshine Festival part. And just delete. So that pops out. And then probably on this part of the text too. That web address is already hard enough to read, so I'm not going to try to complicate that any further with the halftones. Delete it out. Delete it out. Now it's tempting to think of this as special effects, but the truth is, this is how printing actually works with these dots. And this is just making those dots big enough to see and kind of visible and overlaying them on top of my illustration. Now you can use different overlay modes. So this is screen mode right now, which kind of brightens everything. I can play with its opacity. This is without anything. This is with it. I kind of like it, but maybe it's a little too strong. I can try lighten, so it only uses the dots that lighten the colors. So you see that coming through. Try overlay, which will make it look a little bit more intense and more colorful. Soft light, pin light. Hard mix always looks really strange. So to me it's between screen and lighten. I think I like screen. And so the dots are there, but they're subtle. And I can make them even more subtle by playing with the resolution. I can do that same sort, or the opacity. I can do that same sort of effect to the background, but I think that makes it pretty effective. And now just the last thing to finish off our poster and be all done is I'm going to add a border around everything. So a simple way to do that is just go to Image, Canvas Size, and we're just going to increase it a little bit on each side. So I'll make it 19 inches by 28 inches. That's just because of the dimensions I already have. Gives it a border around. I can see there's little things I need to clean up. So to crop outside of my whole image, first I crop it and then I'll do the canvas size again so I have a clean border around it. Cropping will get rid of all of this residual image just hanging out at the edges. You might also decide you like your halftone so much that you actually weaken the opacity of your spot illustration. You know, like that. And then you make your color steps as strong as you can. And maybe put them on a stronger mode. So there's lots and lots you can do. And digital art is the most fun when you're just playing with it in these ways. Back in my history, find where I like it best. I think this is what I like best. All right. So now to make the border, I simply go to canvas size, make it a little bit bigger on both sides. And then you'll fill that background with white again. So go to your background layer, fill, white, and it shows you your finished poster. And then you simply save it as a PSD file, and then you'll save it as a JPEG to upload. And even though the file sizes can get very, very large with all these layers, when you save it as a JPEG to upload, try to make sure it's under 5 megabytes, so it doesn't take up too much room in PhotoBucket.
What's the size that you want it again?
You should use whatever size kind of fits the dimensions, the proportions of your own poster, but you would want it to print within an 11 by 14 mat at 350 pixels per inch. So mine's bigger than that right now. Bigger is fine, but smaller is going to be lower quality. So as a JPEG, save. It's going to tell me in a little bit, once it figures it out, what the file size is here. I think I'm going to need to take it to at least 10. And that gets it to 11 megabytes, so I'm going to take it even lower, since it's such a big file, to get it under 5. There we go. Now we went through several tutorials for the spot illustration, for the text, and then now for the poster background and border. But let's think what this gave us. We have a finished poster, but we also have individual elements that are vectors of a spot illustration, of a logo type or text, that are all individual and can be used in versatile contexts. Often when you do digital campaigns, you have to do vertical posters, horizontal posters, billboards, and so this gives you a lot of that flexibility. And then when you look at your finished JPEG, and you kind of zoom in, you'll see how clean those vectors are from your black outline. You'll see how strong those vector shapes are from your vector line work. And you'll see the advantages of doing those elements in Illustrator, the black line for your spot illustration, and the text, and then using Photoshop to give them all these color effects and really play with your compositing skills to make something memorable.